Well, gentlemen's first day in pads, I was, pleased with our effort. I think it did have an impact on maybe some timing, particularly on offense. I thought at times we got a little bit sloppy. Really particularly pleased with Carl Granderson's movement. I think for him to come back from the ACL tear, he looks like he's moving and he's close to 250, so he's carrying his weight well. The other guy that I really was impressed with was Milo Hall. I think he's picked up a step. Certainly looks more confident with the offense, and so that's encouraging. We are working Patrick Arnold a little bit with the upper groups. He's taken some snaps, not with the ones, but he's rotating with the ones in there at the center position. And so he did some good things today, but he's going to need to continue to improve. So those are just some general observations. Open it up to any questions.
With Patrick getting some of those snaps, and obviously Gavin can play guard and center, it's early in camp, but when would you really like to make a determining factor of who your guy is at center moving ahead so you can get him even more snaps as camp?
You know what, I think as we start to look to the maybe 2 weeks out of our first game, I think we're going to start to solidify some things. There'll certainly be an opportunity to scrimmage some. However, the offensive line is a position where it's almost full go all the time in there anyhow, and so we'll just wait a little bit to see how it goes.
It looked like Drew was held out. Is that right today?
Yeah, that's correct. He had a strained hamstring. He was able to do some stuff, but we're going to monitor that. We don't think it's a significant pull. We do think there's a strain in there, and he's a tough guy. He's a veteran guy, and so we're going to need to make sure that he's going to be healthy before we return him back to full play.
You talked about C.J. Colden a little bit early in camp, and he's a young corner, but he's got size that you really haven't had, at least height-wise and stuff. Is that what you really like about him? What have you liked about him so far, even though it's way early?
Well, both he and Keon were heavily recruited and really have a lot of ability. To answer your question concerning CJ, he was an excellent athlete. He played basketball at that school, and they were a big-time basketball school. Brandon probably remembers much about their team, and that's a good basketball area. He's really athletic, can run really fast, and he's 6'1". And so when you have a guy that's 6'1", that's athletic, that can run really fast, that typically has been a good basketball player. A lot of times that's a sign of a good corner. The last guy we had that I was coaching like that was at NDSU, Marcus Williams. He starts for the New York Jets and was a really good basketball player, just wasn't good enough to shoot.
I know over the summer, I think there were 5 walk-on guys earning scholarships, I guess, in addition to Josiah. Just a few years in, how do you like the way that walk-on program is developing?
Well, we patterned that after Nebraska, and Coach Osborne really championed that, and I think it sends a message when you come here and you work hard, you're going to get rewarded. A lot of it goes hand in glove with our mantra of being a development program, and so those guys that may not have been heavily recruited at all or overlooked, but still have the burning desire to be great. We're always going to have a opening spot for guys like that. That's not to say everybody that comes is going to walk on is going to earn a scholarship, but I think it's important to reward those guys. If you want to have a walk-on program, then I think you need to make sure that you acknowledge that with scholarships from time to time when it's merited and when we have the ability to do it.
Is there over fall camp any potential for more guys, or do you think that's maybe going into the season?
No, I think we're full right now, and we're at our 25 this year, and I just don't see anything else, but we'll constantly look.
You mentioned Avante Cox a couple times early in camp as a slot guy, and again, I know it's very early, but are you liking what he's seeing, and does he have at least early in camp the ability to maybe get in the mix a little bit this season? I mean, again, I know there's still a long ways to go, but what are you thinking?
Well, I'm going to agree with you. I think he does have the ability, and to answer your question, he made a couple really outstanding plays today, although he had one drop that I know Coach Grant, the receiver coach, was disappointed in, but we're going to take a hard look at playing him. You'll see him get more repetitions with our upper group.
Does he compare favorably to Austin in that slot position as far as abilities? Are they similar? Are they different? How would you kind of compare them, at least right now?
Right now, Austin's quite a bit ahead. And some of it's just his familiarity. Plus, I think he's becoming a better receiver and a football player. If you look at where Austin was at last year and where Avante's at right now, I think that there's some pretty similar comparisons. And Austin had a significant impact on our football team, and so Austin will be a return guy or slot guy. We may move him around some, but Avante's a guy that's really showing promise.
Coach, you mentioned Milo. I noticed today he was catching quite a few balls, some other running backs. Do you think you can utilize those running backs a little bit in the passing game this year?
Well, they certainly have good hands, and while we tried to utilize Brian some, his hands were not his specialty, and so we're going to kind of accentuate some of the things that our guys can do. And Milo's a gifted guy. He can come out of the backfield, and he's got good hands.
Looked like Andrew was back there taking a few kicks and punts. I know you mentioned looking at defensive guys. Does he still have that running back in him? Is that what's attractive about that there maybe?
Well, yeah, a little bit. We're just we'll take, we got a long camp. We're going to take a hard look at guys as we go along.
The other guy that I heard coaches compliment a lot today was Cash. Seemed like he was making a lot of plays today.
Yeah, he's playing the will position, which is a little bit different from Sam, and he's really a bright, intuitive guy. And with the third day in our system playing that spot, he's gaining more confidence, and it's always fun to see a younger player really experience some success.